Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with the second installment of my 1 week month palette, and today I'm going to speak about the NikkieTutorials and Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette. I got this just over a week ago actually, and I've been playing around with it for the last week. But before we jump into the first look, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just go through my initial thoughts on this palette. So this palette is very new to me. I did actually pick it up on the release date and it is absolutely stunning. So I'm gonna try to show you this without blinding you because the mirrors are a bit annoying, but this is what the palette looks like. I never tried any of the Beauty Bay formulas, and just a little spoiler alert, but I'm very impressed so far. But obviously I will speak more about my thoughts and things after the looks. But I thought what I would do is I will just swatch out everything and I will show you the swatches of this palette. So here you have all of the swatches. I'm hoping you can see all of them. So these here are the first 2 rows and these here are the bottom 2 rows. So that is what the color story looks like, and I am really excited about the color story. This palette is not like anything else I have in my collection. Just looking at it again, so this is what it looks like, and one of the reasons why I did pick this up is because it has a lot of tones that I'm actually lacking in my collection. I didn't really have any blues at all, and also this bright red I didn't have, so I was really excited to pick it up for that. But the thing that really sold me on this palette was the shimmers. The shimmers are absolutely amazing. I'm not sure the camera will even pick up how amazing they are, but they are so stunning. I'm hoping you can see this one right here, which is actually probably my favorite shade in the palette. This one right here and this one right here is the 2 favorite shades that I have in this palette. But yeah, these are amazing, and some of them aren't the absolute best. Some of them are a bit patchier, a bit more kind of harder to swatch as well as use, but that's because they are pastels. So for example, this shade right here, which is this light blue, and that's called Plot Twist, and that is quite difficult to both swatch and apply, but if you apply on a wet base it does show up much better. And that's how I've been loving using these eyeshadows, is using them on a primed but not set base. I have started using my eyeshadows that way anyway. I don't really set my base that often. What I do usually is I just apply the matte shades where I want them, and if they end up being too tense or patchy, then I apply a lighter shade and just blend that out with the lighter shade rather than putting the lighter shade down first. So for me, using this palette hasn't really been anything different because that's what I've been doing recently anyway. But before we go into any further details on the shade, I just want to start going through the looks that I did over the last month. So we're going to start with the first look, and the first look I wanted to create something with the red in the palette, so I'm going to see if I can actually show you the palette too. But I started off by taking this red shade called Mikai right here in the middle, and I did apply that on my outer and inner corner as well as in the crease and lower lash line. So basically most of the look was surrounding this shade, and like I said, I didn't really have anything else like this shade in my collection, and I was really excited to play around with this color. Also, if you know NikkieTutorials at all, or know her story, that shade is specifically kind of important to her because of her brother, because Mikai was her brother who unfortunately passed away, and I won't get into too much, but it was a shade that I wanted to play around with for several reasons, and I am so happy with how that look turned out. And then I decided to kind of blend that out with 2 shades. I started with the shade Blend and Snap, which is this kind of pinky shade right there, and then I also took the shade Redemption, which is orange shade, and I kind of mixed those 2 and blended them out. I mainly took Blend and Snap to blend out the red, and then I used to apply the Redemption shade slightly above that as well, just to kind of continue fading the shades out. Then I decided to take the shade Pride, which is the one here in this down corner right here, and I took that, and it's one of my absolute favorite shades in this palette. If you look at the swatch again right here, it's absolutely stunning. And so I took that on the center lid as well as the center lower lash line. And then the final shade I decided to go in with is the shade Ivy, which is the one on the top right here. This one is just like a nice inner corner highlight, and I use this for most of my inner corner highlights, and that is how I wrapped up this first look. Like I said, I'm really happy how this turned out, and I wore this in my Panels eyeshadows update, and I got a lot of requests to recreate this, and I said I would go through it in this video. But if you're one of those people who wanted a tutorial on this look, please let me know if you do want me to make one as well, because I am happy to describe it in here. But if you want an actual tutorial on it, I am more than happy to do so, so just let me know down below if you want to see that tutorial. Then for day 2, actually for the next 3 days, I'm wearing a bit more toned down look because we had some friends staying over over the weekend, so I didn't want to go too crazy with my makeup. So on the second day, what I did is I took Mila, which is this orangey transition shade right here, and I applied that in my crease as well as on my lower lash line. So that is the main look. And then what I took is I took the shade 5 AM, which is this shade right here. I took that on the outer corner just to deepen it up a little bit. Then what I did is I took the shade All In, which, like I said, is probably my favorite shade in this palette. It is this one right here, and I took that on the inner half of my lid as well as my inner corner. So I kind of wrapped it around my inner corner, and I absolutely love how that turned out. And then I used to blend that dark brown 5 AM shade with that shimmer shade All In. I decided to take the shade NikkieTutorials, which is down here, on the kind of center of my lid. I used to blend those two together. And again, I just loved how this turned out. Me and my boyfriend actually went out for dinner that night, and the waitress even gave me a compliment on this eye look. It was kind of like a everyday neutral eyeshadow look with a little bit of a twist, because that All In shade is absolutely stunning. And yeah, it's another look that I absolutely loved how it turned out. So for day number 3, I focused more on this kind of side right here. So I started off by taking the shade Sommer right here, which is this kind of corally shade, and I applied that on my crease and outer corner as well as on my lower lash line. So that was kind of the base of the look. And then what I did next is I took the shade Redemption, which is this orange shade in the corner, and I put that in my inner crease. So basically, like I said, I put Sommer all in my crease, but then I faded that into Redemption on the inner part of my crease. Then for my lid shade that day, I stayed on this side of the palette, and I decided to go in with Aura, which is this kind of corally shimmer right here. I do really love that one, and it goes really well with those tones in Sommer and Redemption. And then for my inner lower lash line, I decided to go in with Vla, which is this yellow shade right here. So I put that on my lower lash line, kind of on the inner corner. And then I put on my actual inner corner, I used Ivy again, which is this shade right here that I used on the first day. And that is day number 3. For day number 4, I wanted to create a look that was more neutral, but I didn't want to use those kind of orangey warm tones again. So what I decided to do that day is I took the shade 5 AM, which is the shade in the corner right here, and I mixed that with the shade Basic Truth, which is this kind of lighter shade here, because 5 AM on its own is too dark to use as a transition shade for me, but I mixed those two together, and that's how I created my transition shade. Because the shade 5 AM, although it is a warm brown, it's not as warm as Mila, which is the one below it. So I used those two on my crease as well as my lower lash line. And then what I decided to do on my lid that day was I took the shade Underground, which is this shimmer right here. It's again more of a cool tone shimmer, and I really liked how that looked as well. And then on my inner corner this day, I decided to take All In, which is this kind of silvery, browny, bronzy shade, which I absolutely love. So that is day number 4. It was more of a simple look this day, but I just wanted something easygoing but still neutral. But I just wanted to include those shimmers as well, because those are some of my favorites in this palette. For day number 5, I decided to play around with the blue in this palette. So I took the shade Amsterdam down here, which is this kind of bluish purple shade. It looks quite blue in the pan, but it comes off as more of a kind of dark perigold bluish purple, and I really love that. I think it's a blue that is more wearable, but I used that and I took that on my crease as well as my outer corner and lower lash line. And then what I did is I cut my lid, and I took the shade Metropolis, which is next to it, which is this kind of turquoisey color right here, and I put that on my lid. And then to blend those, like that dark blue out, I took the shade Plot Twist, which is this light pastel blue right here, and I just put that actually first underneath the Metropolis shade on my lid, used to set the cut crease, and then like I said, I took that to blend out the dark navy shade both in my crease as well as on my lower lash line. And then for my lid that day, I took the shade Ivy again, which is this light shade right here on my inner corner. So day number 6, which is yesterday, I wanted to focus in on this green right here, which is called Ooh. So I took that shade and I basically applied that all over my lid, my lower lash line, and slightly blended that up in the crease. Not much though, because what I did next is I actually took the shade Plot Twist again, which is this light blue right here, and I put that, and I used that to blend out that green shade. So that's basically the whole look. And then just to brighten up the inner corner a bit, I took the shade All In again and I just applied that on my inner corner. So it was a very kind of colorful and exciting look, but it was very easy to create because I used 3 shades to create it. But that was the one I did yesterday. And then let's just move into the one I'm wearing today, and I'm just going to zoom you in to show you my eye look. So I'm hoping you can see better now with my eye look, but just to go through what I did today is I started off with the shade Summer, which I'm hoping to be able to show you now even when I'm zoomed in, which is this shade again right here. This is like corally shade, and I put that all over my crease and blended that out. And then I took the shade Blend and Snap, which is this pink in the upper corner there, and I put that all out in my outer corner, and I did have some tape down to create this kind of winged effect. And then I also blended Blend and Snap on my lower lash line right here. Then for the further outer corner, more as like a liner, so I used that mainly to line but also kind of smoke out this area right here. I took this shade Slasher, which is this purple shade right here, and yeah, I just kind of lined along the tape just to blend out the other corner and make it slightly deeper, as well as to smoke out the look. And then for the shimmer shade that's on my lid today, I decided to play with the only shimmer shade I haven't used yet, which is Roxy Catan right here. You can see it obviously on my lids, but it's a really beautiful kind of pinky shade that shifts gold, and it's absolutely stunning. It is definitely way more special than it looks like in the pan, because I didn't use this before in the week because I just didn't think it would be that special on the lids, but it's actually really beautiful and I love how this turned out. And then like most days this week, I decided to take Ivy, which is this light shade again, and put that on my inner corners, and that concludes this final eye look. So those were all of the looks that I did with this palette, and overall I am very happy that I did pick this up. These shades are super pigmented, and again, it's a color story that I don't have in my collection. I do have a lot of colorful eyeshadows, but there's a lot of tones in here that I didn't have, like I said, so I definitely feel like this is a good addition to my collection. I feel like if you had a lot of rainbow palettes though, or like really special shimmers, for example from indie brands and things like that, I don't think this might be worth it. But since I don't own any of those things yet, I feel like this was a really good purchase for me, and I do not regret it at all. I would almost say this was kind of an impulse buy for me, because I wasn't expecting to buy it, but then when I saw NikkieTutorials video where she swatched everything out, I just fell in love with the shimmers and I just knew I had to have it. And since the palette is only £25 or 30 euros / dollars, I feel like it was definitely worth it. And this is a massive palette as well. I mean, the actual palette isn't too big, but the actual pans are quite large. They're probably like the largest eyeshadow pans that I have in my collection, apart from the big Juvia's Place ones. So it's definitely a good value for money, and I am very impressed with it. Like I said, I haven't tried Beauty Bay before, but if any of the other palettes are the same formula as this, I will definitely consider picking up more in the future. Although none of the color stories have really drawn me in before, apart from this one, but it is definitely a great formula, especially for the price. So unfortunately this palette is limited edition, so I know it's sold out currently, but there will be one more restock from what I understand, but after that it will be gone. So I would say that don't feel like you need to force yourself to buy this. It's not something that I feel like everyone has to have, but for me it's kind of a really nice palette, and I feel like this is something that I could bring and easily travel with. For example, if I wanted to go on a long trip and I wanted to have the option to both wear colorful eye looks as well as more neutral looks, because you have the option to do both, as you saw in my looks this week. I think it's a good palette, and the shimmer shades are some of my absolute best in my whole collection. So if you do have the money and you have been looking at it and thinking about it, I would definitely say pick it up, because I am in love with it, and I will continue playing with this although the 1 week 1 palette is over. I'm actually a bit sad that it's over, because I've been loving wearing this, but I need to go back to using the eyeshadows that are in my Panda palette as well as my Panda's eyeshadows, so I can't reach for this as much as I have been, but I will definitely incorporate this palette in looks, combining with those eyeshadows that I'm panning, because I am not ready to put this away yet. So I would say that's basically the review for the NikkieTutorials and Beauty Bay palette. And obviously Nikkie won't see this, but I'm really proud of her. I feel like this is an amazing release for her, and I think she's an amazing person as well. If you aren't following her and don't know the backstory, there's a whole thing going around it, and I'm so happy that she finally released a palette that she's proud of and that reflects her. And I'm also really happy that I managed to pick it up. But that, you guys, was it for this palette. Before I close out this video, I just wanted to bring in the 2 palettes that I have kind of debating to use for my next 1 week 1 palette. And I did mention in the last video that if you wanted to vote for the 2 palettes that I was debating to pick from, I would put on a poll in the next video. So that's what I'm going to do now. So the 2 palettes I'm debating to use for my next 1 week 1 palette are these 2 right here. 2 very different price points, but the first one is the Natasha Delona Metropolis palette. I have used this a little bit, but not too much. I picked this up, I think maybe in January this year, or earlier this year, and it looks like this. It's absolutely stunning, and I am in love with this palette. But I definitely want to use it more, and I think this is the perfect time of year to use it. So that is the first option for my 1 week 1 palette. And the other option is my Colourpop Through My Eyes palette. This is again one of my absolute favorite palettes in my collection, and I do have quite a lot of pan in this eyeshadow palette because of my panels eyeshadows and also putting a shade into another project. But it is a palette that I absolutely love playing around with, and it's again a palette that I feel like is perfect for this time of year. So that is another great option for my next 1 week 1 palette. But those will be the 2 palettes. I will try to put in a poll in the cards. I'm not sure I will be able to do that. I think I've seen other people do it, but if I can't manage to do that, just leave a comment down below with the palette you want to see. But if I'm able to do the poll, it will be up in the cards so you can vote there. But there, you guys, was all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you have picked up the NikkieTutorials palette, let me know down below how you're finding it. Are you loving it as much as I am, or are you feeling like you have other things that are quite similar in your collection? But otherwise, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye, guys.